Yeah, this is my first time doing a Discord space, so I'm kinda is that what they're called? Discord spaces? And I guess there's like a Twitter space, so this is the version on Discord. Um oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, so it seems a little bit different, but I really like the format. I'm actually doing this from my computer rather than my phone where I typically did the, Twitter spaces from, but yeah, if you guys have anything that you wanna talk about, come on up and we'll talk some crypto with you. I kinda like the idea that we are here and we could talk about different projects. I'm here, and this is an open space to talk about whatever projects you guys want. I do want to cover some things about SafeMoon tonight. Obviously, this is their birthday month, and then we could talk about some of the things they're speculating about. I would also like to talk about Giddy. I know that Generation has also tweeted some stuff out about Giddy today. I'm actually super excited about that project as well as some of the things that are going on with SafeMoon. And I know Generation's pretty excited about it too, I suppose, because I saw that you tweeted out about it too. So yeah, without further ado, that's pretty much all I had to say to start off. Unless you do you have anything that you want to start off with tonight, Generation? Sure. First thing, as I'm getting started, I'm getting a lot of questions about my content. I haven't been putting out a ton of content lately on my YouTube channel. I'm currently working on 3 documentaries, and I need to have one done by the end of this month. So I am super focused on getting that, and I have to like fly all over the place and shoot all these interviews, and it has to be done by the end of the month. So I apologize if I've been slacking on my duties as a content creator on YouTube. I will be finishing that up by the end of the month for sure. Hopefully, if I don't, Netflix is gonna be pissed. So I'm trying my best to make sure that it's done by the end of the month. So I will start producing more content there. So I know there's a lot of people that's been asking, "Where's my stuff?" That's my announcement because I've been answering a lot of questions and letting people know about it. But when I'm done with the documentary, I will get right back to producing content for you guys. But by the way, SafeMoon, they should be producing a lot of content this month to give you guys plenty of stuff to be excited about. Recently, they released a 20-minute video, which sort of kind of resembled like an Apple video. They had the structure of it and the way that it was worded seemed very Apple-esque. Also, the image now that they're trying to portray, that they're trying to change up a little bit, seems very Apple-esque as well, as to like a tech company. So now you're starting to see SafeMoon mature into more of the tech company that they are. And I did catch some things on Discord that John was saying about them releasing a product very soon. I don't know if it will be this particular month when it comes to the product, but I also believe in that teaser video that they have. It's about 20 minutes long. They also teased a card in that. So maybe that the SafeMoon card is coming this month. I'm not sure. What do you think about that, Generation? Do you think the SafeMoon card is coming this month? Yeah, I'm pretty excited for the things that they are coming out with when it comes to regards to the card because I would actually like to be able to spend crypto that I have, and it would be an easy way to on and offload the crypto that I have if you can use it to spend it. We all know that they are working on a POS system to help use to buys and sells, but that's probably going to be a little bit of time before all that rolls out. So, but I want to get your overall feeling. What did you think about the new image of SafeMoon? What did you think about their? I think they're not calling it a new logo. They're just calling it like almost like a rebranding. I guess they're going to keep their same logo. What did you think of the video generation as a whole? Did you like it? Did you find it inspirational? Are you getting excited for the future of the company? Yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed the rebranding. I was hoping that I would see the rebranding and the new website, which we got a new URL. So now it's safemoon.com rather than safemoon.net, which I really like. I think it's a lot easier to find it and it seems more professional now that they have the .com. But I was hoping to see more of the branding and the image that they're portraying in their website, because that was something I would hope would be carried across all their platforms. And when I saw the same old website, I was like, oh man, they missed the mark. I thought they were going to rebrand the website just like they were rebranding some of their headers on their pages and stuff like that. But I do feel that that could be a possible update this particular month for their birthday month. I do feel like there is a possibility that they will be dropping a new website with the branding on it and possibly updating some of their merch onto that as well. Thoughts on that generation? Do you think that they're going to come out with a new branded website this month, or do you think that is just out of the question? You think they're going to focus on other things uh, like getting the swap and evolve going? Because I think that's something that I'm excited about. I know the swap and liquify was always a pain in the ass when that would go off, and it would drop the price a little bit, but now it's going to do the exact opposite because instead of when you're doing the purchasing, but them storing SafeMoon at 10%, that 10% fee would go into a bag, and then it obviously would burn it, and then it would do that the system that it would have in the tokenomics, but then it would store up to a level of 500 million, and then it would sell off to buy BNB and wrap BNB to bring it into the liquidity pool. But now that's going to change with Swap and Evolve. I believe every purchase, if I read it correctly, they're going to be taking the BNB and then building that up in a bag. And when that hits a certain level, they're going to split it off with wrapped or not wrapped BNB, but BUSD. And they're going to go and purchase the safe moon that they're going to put into the burn, and everything else that goes in with the tiers that they have, and then they're going to go around and then add it to the liquidity pool, which is actually going to cause the price to go up rather than down. So it's going to do the reverse effect of swap and liquify. And in that roadmap that they now have on SafeMoon.education, you can see that the LP is also getting added to by the swap by SafeMoon with all the 0.1%. And that's also adding to it. So it's also going to strengthen the token itself. So these drops are going to be less severe and they're going to be less often as that liquidity pool builds up. And hopefully this month they will be moving over the LP from V1, but I'm not sure if that's possible. I know they are working with a company that was supposed to try to get that done, but I'm not exactly sure where they are out with that. But getting back to my main question, what do you think, Generation? Do you think they're going to rebrand the website to look more like the rebranding that they had in the video and with the graphics and the wallpapers and everything else that they did? Fantastic. All right, so I guess we have someone up here, the Greek DeFi guru. Feel free to speak, ask your questions, say hi, do whatever you want. You're up.
What's up, guys? No better place to spend my birthday night than here.
Oh, happy birthday, brother.
Thank you. It's been great. Spend all day researching crypto, talking crypto. It's been fun. I just have a question for you. What you think the app update's going to be?
Ooh, the app update. I did read because people were asking about if the NFTs could be Ethereum NFTs, and they can. As for the new update, I think that they may be now. I'm not sure where they are at it with this, but I think they may be linking to Naughty Knots. Maybe they have that more along than they are leading to. I think that might be something that we might be seeing in the future update, because now they have a place to store it. Maybe there'll be a way to actually go and purchase it from the app. That's what I think. That's what I hope. But I don't know, Generation. What do you think the update is going to include? I would also hope that they would do more networks than just ETH and BSC or BNB. I was hoping that there would be a way to add another network like the Avalanche or Phantom to that point. I would love to see different chains rather than just those two chains on there. And hopefully that'll be in the update as well, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. I think I did read somewhere that they are planning on doing that in the future, but I don't know if that'll be in this next update.
First of all, I just want to say welcome, Greek, to the stage. Anybody else is also welcome to come up. So if you're in the audience, don't feel shy like you can't come up and speak. Feel free to go ahead and send a request to come up and speak with us. As far as to answer your question, I have no idea what the update's going to be. Anything I would say would be like completely speculative. I haven't heard any whiff of anything in particular that would be there. I would imagine that my gut feeling would be whatever the larger announcements that they're claiming they're going to be making later this month, I would imagine that the update is in preparation for whatever those things are. So as Tim mentioned, if the Naughty Knot series is coming out, I could see the update being involved with getting that all fixed. I could also see, other preparations for, like you mentioned before, like with multi-swap. I'd be really cool to see more multi-swap features being brought into the app and onto the website as well. So my gut feeling is it's going to have to do with the other things that we're going to be getting here later this month.
Yeah, that's what made it so exciting, is not knowing what it is, because they never even teased anything. Normally they say it and then you see it the Apple. So it was just exciting on my end.
Yeah, they like playing games with us, don't they? They did that whole map thing, so they like trying to see if we could figure stuff out. But yeah, go ahead. It's pretty interesting. They didn't give us any information on this one.
Yeah, and that's what I like. And Darkmoon, don't worry about the content for this month. I got you. I just need somebody to watch. Some people will start watching my videos. Get on your level.
All right, man. Yeah, no, I actually didn't even know you have your own YouTube channel.
I just started last Friday. I'm still new.
All right. Well, guys, if you're listening, obviously, I hope you are in the audience there. Check out the Greek DeFi guru. Check out his stuff on YouTube. Feel free to post your link in the general chat.
Greek, if you can send me either DM or here on the server your YouTube channel, I'll put it in the description of my video for this live stream. So if people are interested, they can click on it there and go directly to your channel.
Oh, you're the man. I didn't want to show my stuff, but I appreciate it.
No, it's fine. Here's the thing. Like, if you don't talk about it, how are people going to know about it, right? So,
well, I feel bad going into so many places, and I feel like I'm just like shilling my stuff, and I'm like, well, nobody's gonna watch it if you don't.
yeah, you got to strike a
No,
balance,
man.
obviously, right? But what you've done is there's no issues with it. We appreciate you coming on. You've been a great mod for the space as well, and a great supporter of our content. So we're gonna support you in what you do. Like, I think the funny thing is a lot of people look at like it's this crypto versus that crypto, and us as content creators could do the same thing and say, it's that content creator against me. And technically speaking, if me and Tim are going to talk on the same topic, we're technically competitors because some people aren't going to watch both people. They're going to watch one or the other because it's going to be the same information, right? So on a technical level, people could say that we're competition against one another. But I don't view it that way. I view as Tim is my friend. I feel like we're all a community. And I feel like just because I'm not in one project doesn't mean I want that project to fail. So people tell me all the time, like, oh, I'm in this project. And I genuinely hope that project does really well for them and that they see success, even if I'm not a part of that project. That goes the same for content creators. So I have no problem with you coming into the space and talking about, you starting a channel. I will support you. I'll send people your way. And if people enjoy your content, I hope you get views.
Yeah,
I still
same
watch all
thing.
your videos, so no worries.
Hey, I'll start watching your videos too. Yeah, all of us content creators, we love each other. We all learn from each other. And I have a full-time job, and I know Generation has a full-time job. So we do YouTube because we enjoy it and we like doing it. I know RJ, he's that lucky dude down there in the audience. It actually is his full-time job, but I don't think we all do our different thing. We all have our different angles, and I love watching new content all the time when I have spare time. And so thank you for creating stuff because it's a lot of fun to see new people come into the field and show their way of developing content and explaining things to people. So thank you for even coming up here and speaking.
Appreciate both of you. Thank you so much.
Fist bump. They don't have little fist bump emojis on here, do they?
I know it's kind of funny when you migrate over from Twitter. You're used to being able to send the emotes, right, to know that the audience engaged or that you want to support whoever's speaking at the time. So unfortunately, that's not here on Discord. But I think one of the cool things about Discord is that we can actually share our screen, so everyone can see what we're talking about if we wanted to kind of share a screen and do cool stuff like that. So I think that's a cool aspect that if down the road we wanted to look at charts or share, a website or something like that, we could do that live and everyone can see what we're talking about, which I think is pretty cool. So hopefully we can do stuff like that in the future and get kind of cool things set up that way. Like I said before, guys, anyone in the audience is welcome to come up, ask any questions that you want, talk about any topics. If you want to talk about what's going on in Europe right now, like the door's open on that conversation as well. If you've got a cryptocurrency project that's not SafeMoon and has nothing to do with the SafeMoon ecosystem, it's okay to bring that up in this space. So if you're into a specific node or anything like that, you're welcome to come up and speak. So it looks like Reaper wants to come up and speak. Let's go ahead and get him up here. So give me 1 second here.
How do you see the people coming up to speak? Do they just pop up, or do they could be like a little request? I'm just curious because I don't see anything.
Yeah, there's a request button down at the bottom. It's like it should be the middle of your screen at the bottom there. You should see request, and then it should pop up a little sidebar that shows the request to speak.
Look at that. I'm learning with you guys. So guys, if you ever hold a Discord space, you just want to click that and you'll get like a little tab on the side so you'll see when people request. So we're all learning together because this is my first time being on stage on Discord. So
yeah,
neat.
And funny enough, I had this live stream on YouTube as well, and for the first little bit of our live stream, no one could hear me. They could hear everybody else speaking, but not me, and that was because I'm putting input, which is not going to get picked up by Discord. So I had to actually turn on my mic on the live stream. The reason I had to turn it off was I was worried about feedback, but I guess that fixed the issue. So if you can hear me on YouTube, just give me some sort of indicator in the comment section that you guys are now able to hear me.
Perfect. What's going on, Reaper?
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm a big fan, by the ways, of you guys. I just had I guess 2 questions, really. One of them is what node projects do you see that has longevity compared to the tons that have come out lately?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'll let Generation start off with this. I have an idea for one that I like. I'm not sure. I know the team is Docs, but I'm going to let Generation take this one first, and then I'll get on to the node project that I like.
Yeah, so nodes are really new. Obviously, if it's just a node project that just has nodes, that's not going to be sustainable for the long term, right? It's just mathematically, psychologically, that's just there's going to be more sell pressure than there is buy pressure at one point, and it's not going to be sustainable as it grows. In my personal opinion, I think Strongblock is by far the most sustainable that I've seen. It's been one of the ones that's been out the longest, and they're doing a lot of stuff to build out their blockchain and some other utility use cases that should provide buy pressure and should kind of alleviate the sales pressure that they're trying to build. Obviously, the market's down right now, so Strongblock, along with several other projects, is really suffering on price. But in my personal opinion, they're kind of the lead indicator as far as node projects go and longevity goes. As far as the other the other node projects that are out there, there's a lot of really interesting and cool ideas that are kind of being made. A lot of these node projects are kind of popping up over the last several months. So I've seen it just kind of an explosion of over like since basically the beginning of the year of all these different new node projects that are being developed. And so in my personal opinion, none of them have been around long enough to kind of prove themselves. So some of them are coming up with really interesting ideas, kind of with these reward pools and these other aspects they're trying to bring in to try to build some level of stability for the price. But they kind of need to exist for a longer period of time and have kind of proof of concepts before I could give confidence in saying that they're going to be sustainable for the long term.
Yeah, I mean, it's the sustainability part is the issue, especially when you have big money come in and just buying a ton of nodes at once, because then they could drain the system pretty fast from all the little guys buying in. So it is hard to pick any project that would be for sustainable in the future, except unless they have a good roadmap where they have ways of bringing in income that would pay out the rewards that you would get for the nodes that you have. I have some super risky node plays that I'm in, things that I won't even recommend because they're so crazy. There is no way that they're sustainable. I was in a couple of those projects that were given like 15%, and they quickly realized that you can't give 15% AP. You can't give 15% rewards every single day because it's just not sustainable. So they had to go and change that one out. But I do like Vapor nodes. It's actually on the AVAX chain. But the way that they get their financing is by they're heavily invested in other node projects. So those other node projects would have to do well for them to be able to pay out the rewards to the people that are in their nodes project. But the way that they're set up, they're also coming out with the Vapor chain, which I believe is their blockchain is going to offer certain things to help them be more sustainable. The APY is not too crazy on it. It's closer to drip. You get 1% every day if you're familiar with the drip project. But you also have bonuses for not selling. So if you don't sell and you just recompound all the time, you get bonuses for being a diamond hand. And if you have a smaller bag, you get a bigger bonus for holding. And as your bag grows, you get a lesser of a bonus because they want to grow the smaller people faster than they do the bigger people. Because obviously, if you have a smaller bag, it's more appealing to get in at the low price point because then you could build yourself up and get more get a larger bag in the future. But once you hit a certain tier, and they start cutting down on the amount of rewards that you get because they actually give you a 25% compounding bonus if you keep compounding and you're a smaller guy. Now, once you go up to tiers and you hit a certain bag limit, the compounding bonus gets less. And obviously, when you sell, then you lose your compounding bonus until you hold it for a longer period of time. So I do like that particular project, but probably one of the most sustainable ones that I've come across lately is also on the AVAX chain. And Crypto Atlas told me about it, and it's called Alpha Nodes. It basically gives you reflections, sort of like SafeMoon. So buying and selling of it gives you reflections, and in those reflections, they give you USDC rewards. But you could use those rewards to purchase nodes for other projects, and they give you a better percentage when you purchase nodes for other projects. So I believe that as your bag builds with that USDC, you can go and click say, I don't want to be paid out in USDC. I want to get paid out in a Thor node, or I want to get paid out in a Project X node. And they have a whole bunch of different projects that you could select where you want your rewards for holding the alpha nodes. And they are eventually going to have their own nodes, but it works like a tokenomics, and then those tokenomic rewards then give you the chance to buy into other node projects. So it's a pretty interesting project because the way that that works is sort of similar to uh, SafeMoon, is that the buying and the selling creates the reflections that you get, and then you could use that to purchase nodes for the project that you're in, so you can gain more reflections, or other projects that you're also in. Like if you were in Project X, or if you were in Thor nodes, you can get those too. So I really like that project too. It's super new. I believe it's only like a week and a half old, but it seems like they have a good team behind them. They have a really cool Discord, and they seem pretty smart. And when they do run into issues, they ask for help, and they have been helped out, and they've made a lot of fixes. So it's a pretty cool project.
Oh yeah, I definitely like I was reading up on Alpha, and I definitely like also Strong Block, Thor, and I definitely like Vapor as well, because those are the ones I've really been looking at. What's concerning for Strong though on the long run is, like, I know they're trying to make their own blockchain because gas fees on the Ethereum network, but I honestly think the gas fees kind of helped them out in many ways. For getting people to cash out on the tokens, because the gas prices are so high, they end up waiting a long time before they try to cash out.
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
you. I think that the Ethereum fees to some degree definitely helped with sell pressure, right? Because once people are in, they're not going to just want to sell because of the gas fees that are associated with the cost in selling and moving things around the blockchain. So I've seen that argument made, and I actually agree with that. It's just going to be the utility that Strong is going to provide outside of just being a node that will continue to give the token, or rather than a coin, value outside of just being a node, right? So the node
Absolutely.
system can still work as long as there's enough utility that prevents a large amount of sell pressure. So they would have to come up with several utility use cases outside of just being a node.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
You're
thank
welcome to
you.
stay up and engage, or if you want to step down, you're welcome to do so as well. It's totally up to you. So we're not going to kick you off or anything like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, another thing I was questioned too is, like, like I've been really in the balance about the drip network, right? Because as someone who's investing their money, my biggest concern, and the arguments come back and forth about being doxxed or having some type of doxing, like either a Sure or many others that are out there right now. And that's my biggest concern with drip. Even though drip sounds very appealing, very appealing. That's like the doxing, like his preventative from being doxed, and I get it. With regulations coming down, you never know that a big regulations could come down and rip drip apart, or never, or him in general, and you don't want to be upfront about that. You don't want to have your image out there or yourself, because the government could hit you hard. But also, at the other balance, as an investor, you kind of get squeamish. So what do you guys thought about, like, tokens or projects having to be doxed, or having some type of doxing, like a Sure?
Yeah, I can speak on this if you want. So when it comes to doxing, I think that people have started to rely on it way too heavily. And what I mean on that is, I've been in crypto for a long time, and it was not common for projects to have a dox team until the last year or two. That's become more of a common practice. SafeMoon was kind of the ones that were big in pushing the fact that they were doxed, and there's been other projects who have done the same. So being doxxed, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily give security. And if anything, for a lot of people, it actually gives a false sense of security. And what I mean by that is there's been a lot of projects that have had a doxxed team, which gave people that level of, oh, this team's doxxed, I'm not going to do as much research because they're not going to rug pull me. And then they put their money in it, and sure enough, it ends up rug pulling anyways. So I don't think that a doxxed dev team inherently prevents you from getting rug pulled. Well, on the flip side, a non-doxxed dev team also doesn't mean anything either. I think that you have to look at accumulation of multiple variables and not rely so heavily on just one or the other. So to give a good example, like obviously the creator of Bitcoin, which is the largest cryptocurrency in the world, is not doxxed. The creator of PancakeSwap, the creators of PancakeSwap are not doxxed. And people use PancakeSwap all the time and don't complain about the fact that their team is not doxxed. So there's a lot of big projects that are out there that their development teams are completely not doxxed, and they're well trusted and they're well utilized within the crypto space. So when it comes to Forex Sharks specifically, he has a track record of having worked on several projects going back about 5 or 6 years. So again, if this was some new guy that had never been in the space before, who had just started a project like last month, I would be very skeptical of that project as well, because there's no proof in the pudding that this person isn't going to just walk away with funds and that they don't have some sort of track record proving that they've done well with the projects they've worked on in the past, because there's no history. With Forex Shark, there's been an extensive history of several projects he's worked on. He's worked on a few DAOs in the past. He's worked with the REIT token. He's worked with Drip. He's now built the entire animal farm and the manor out. So he has a lot of different track records that have been built out over time, and all of those have performed relatively well. And none of them have rug pulled or had any issues with security in the past. So to me, I would rather have someone have a track record under an alias than be doxxed and have no track record anywhere, right? Because anyone can put a name and a face up and say that they're the supposed, owner of a project or the supposed maker of a project. But who's to say that that name and face they're putting out there is just totally fake? I mean, I can go take some stock footage of somebody or, somebody else and make up a name and say that this is now a doxed dev team. So we don't really have regulations in place with laws that kind of prove that a person is doxed in any way. So there's still that level of, someone can easily fake that they're, a quote unquote doxed dev team, and it could be an alias essentially, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying there. But I want to use an example, right? For example, I think there was a recent rug from, I think it was Atom Nodes, and they had to use Assure. And at least one of the good things that by going by Assure was like, Assure was made to make sure like, hey, we're going to reveal your identity to authorities. We're going to make sure that we're sending their wallets to exchanges so they could try to block them out, whatever possible way they could or whatever. And those, at least one of those things that I know is the sense, like you said, like a false sense of security, but at least it's something, and that's kind of my concern with that issue. But I definitely get what you're saying too.
Yeah, and I know that.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is changing in the DeFi space, right? So, at one point in time, you wanted to lock. Everyone started. There was no locked LP. Then they started locking the LP. Now people are not locking the LP. They're insuring the LP. So there's different, as things progress. I think things are going to change in the space. So, at one point in time, you weren't doxxed. Then people are doxxed. But like what Generation said, is it's super easy to create a different identity. There's people
100%.
that catfish all the time. And so it's super easy to say, hey, my name's Jim Bob, and you can make a fake LinkedIn profile, and then you could attach it to a project, and then you could rug it anyway. So, I mean, that isn't necessarily meaning that it's a good project if you have a docs program or developers, but that's something that I like to look for. I am in some projects that the people are not doxed, because they said if anything happens to the project, they don't want to be attacked or kidnapped or something, because there's a lot of weight on some of these projects, some of these developers. Obviously there's a lot of people are saying that, oh look, we're getting hacked, while some people don't think they're being hacked. They're thinking that they are stealing the money and running, and in some cases there's probably people that did not write the code solid, and they might have let a loophole in there, and then they did get hacked. But you will always have people doubt that, and then they have to worry about the consequences of them making a mistake in their coding. Now that people lost a lot of money, it might come after them and do something to their family. So that's something that they want to, that they have to worry about. And that's not something that was so big before, but it's really big now, because there are a lot of investors that throw in a lot of money really fast on a project, hoping to make a lot of money off that initial spike. So it's really dicey, but I think things are changing in this space, and you're going to see more people not doxed as much, just as much as you're going to see projects not locking a liquidity pool as much either. There's going to be different projects that do different things, and that's just the way you have to research and before you get in any project. But I think, I'm sorry to step over you, Generation.
Sorry, I have to unmute in two places now, so it just takes a second for me to step back in. No, I think you hit the nail on the head on that. People are going to be uncomfortable and comfortable with different things, in the same way that people are going to have different risk tolerances. And I don't expect everyone to enjoy or like the same projects that I do. There's going to be projects that I'm super bullish on, and other people are like, that's not for me. And there's gonna be projects that other people are super bullish on, and I'm gonna be like, that's not for me. So I'm not gonna try to force anyone to do anything or think a specific way. So like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, you have to buy Drip, or Drip's the ultimate project ever that everyone should be a part of. If you're not a part of it, I don't like you. It's nothing like that, right? Like if someone doesn't like a project, that's fine. You don't have to like the same projects as me. You know, I am not as big on doxing because I've seen dox teams do stuff, and I've seen a lot of other projects that I've been in that were undoxed and they've done really well in the past. So I don't hold doxing to this like ultimate standard. I do think that it's one of many factors I consider. And, you know, I also, like I mentioned before, I consider that against the track record. I consider that against, you know, other aspects of the project to balance out if it's high enough risk for me. At the end of the day, crypto in general is pretty risky because of the volatility that's involved with cryptocurrency. And then add another layer on top of that, DeFi is even more risky, right? Because you're talking about tokens. They're so easy to make. There's all these issues with liquidity pools and other things that cause a lot of, you know, fraud and honeypots and all these other issues. I mean, every single day, there's hundreds of different products that are being created and put on the blockchain. And most of those are going to end up being either rug pulls, scams, or just they're going to fail within a few weeks of them having been released. And so it's a really high risk area, regardless of the project you're talking about. And even though, you know, we have specific projects that we may love more than others, and we are very confident about those projects, they're still high risk. You know, just because you have a specific stock or a crypto or any other investment that you love and you have an emotional attachment to, doesn't mean that the risk changes because of how you feel about it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like gambling. Trying to get into any, like, this is like gambling space. In fact, this is one of those situations where even John Caroni said in a recent interview with the Millionaire Code, he said, invest what you're willing to lose in anything in DeFi project. And if you can get your return out of it, get it out, and then you could play on house money. But just know that once you invest in any crypto project, it could be gone for good. So, and when you have a CEO of a company saying that, he's just saying, hey, basically, this is undefined territory. So you just have to look at what you're doing and make sure that you don't overinvest in something, because we're in the Wild West right now. When it comes to DeFi, it's so new, and people are finding new ways to scam people all the time. And it's something you really got to be worried about. But just make sure that when you're investing in something, you believe in the project. But look at SHIB. I mean, for instance, I would have guessed in a million years that SHIB would have shot up where it did. You know what I mean? To me, that project was just a meme token and it never would have amounted to anything. And then people that invest.
I go downstairs for a moment. Work stuff.
What's going on, Adam?
Hey, Adam, what's up?
I don't fucking.
All right. His mic is hot. Coming hot to the mic.
How do I get into the stage?
You're on the stage
you
now,
are
buddy.
onto the stage, buddy.
Everyone can hear you.
Everyone
hold on.
Hold on, he says. All right, well, Adam's getting that figured out. Breek, did that answer your question at all? If you want to get into specifics of Drip or any
no, absolutely it did. And to use an example too, Tim, like, you know, you were saying like, oh, some teams use like fake pictures, and one of the ones that I thought that used fake pictures and like fake profiles was actually Evergrow, and I was like, oh, I was 17, and I was like, oh no, forget it. And man, do I regret? Not regret, but I had a chance to get in when it was like a billion tokens were like at $17.
Yeah, man. See, and that's one of those things. It's like when I got involved in SafeMoon, I didn't think the project was going to evolve into what it did, right? So like I saw some of the roadmaps and I didn't think it was become as legit as it did. To me, it was a super high risk. In fact, when someone told me about it, they said, you should try out this project. Don't throw anything more than $100 in it because it'll probably never amount to anything. And I said, okay, fine. I got into it and I was telling my friends about it. I said, this is super high risk. And as the project matured, it started looking more and more legit. And I think it was one of those projects where you're just like, whoa, okay. At first, it didn't seem like the people were doxxed, but it seemed like everyone was really young and everyone was new to the process. But now, as I did more research on the company and more stuff came out, it seemed like they really did have a more of a visualized goal in the end, and they got rid of the people that didn't follow the same goal and roadmap as they did. So it's really changing into a more legit project. Just like I believe SHIB did when SHIB came out. I thought it was just a meme token. It would never turn into anything. And then someone said if you invested like $1,000 initially, worth like $30 million at one point. I was like, what?
Yeah,
It's insane.
crazy.
So
Definitely.
Yeah, it's all high risk, and people will try to make it sound like it's guaranteed, and it's not. And that's why we always scream, this is not financial advice. I can't speak for anybody else, but on my content that I produce, I'm all about just education and just getting the information out there for people to make their own decisions, right? I wouldn't go as far as to say that all investments in DeFi are gambling. I think that there is good ways to know how to see a good project and to make great plays and educated decisions that can lead you in net positive. The issue, though, is a lot of people don't do that. They don't do proper research. They don't learn the skill set that's involved in trading. In the same way that you can day trade with stocks, and you can make that a profitable business. There's people that's their entire career is that they day trade, but it's because there's skill sets that they learn and they know how to properly manage risk. Whereas a lot of people that just go in and try to buy and sell stocks, they're gambling, right? They don't know what they're doing. They're not basing it off of educated information. They're just going in and hoping that if they buy at this price, it's going to go up. And that goes the same with DeFi. There's a lot of people out there who do very minimal research, or they hear about it from somebody and they just want to either A, get in early, or B, they just want to get in because they feel the FOMO with that project. So they'll dump more money than they probably should into a project, and then they just pray that it goes up without properly researching and doing information. And at that point, you are gambling, right? Because you're not investing, you're not researching, you're not making educated decisions. You're doing emotionally based decisions based upon this kind of idea that you're going to just get rich off of a very low investment. So in a short period of time. And like people say, like, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And there's obviously exceptions to that, but that's the same thing. If you think that you're going to just get into any DeFi project and all of a sudden you're going to be a millionaire in a month, you probably need to reconsider and say, okay, I need to make sure that, does that even make sense? What projects are going to actually be legitimate and provide actual utility in this space? Which projects are going to provide real world growth, right? There's projects out there that are like that. And there's projects that we think are going in that direction. And there's, over the last decade, there's been projects that have done that. I mean, imagine having invested into Ethereum when it was, pennies. Now it's worth thousands of dollars. You could have been a millionaire off of that. And there's a lot of people who could have made millions off of that. Same with Bitcoin. Same with a lot of these other projects that started off small and have grown quite a lot. I mean, Cardano is another good example of that being worth fractions of a penny. Exactly. Binance is the same way. It started off at 10 cents and now it's worth hundreds of dollars. So there's all these different cryptocurrencies that are out there that have had success. But for as many that have had success, there are hundreds that have had no success and have lost people. Yeah, thousands, right? That have lost people a ton of money. And it's that kind of emotional based investment versus an educated based investment. And I can't control, and no one else can control, what other people do and if they're going to make an educated decision or if they're going to make an emotional decision. But at the end of the day, people have to take personal responsibility and recognize that regardless of some celebrity saying this token's awesome or some influencer that claims to be an expert in crypto says it's awesome, you need to do your own research and then take accountability for your own investments when you decide to put money into a project or not. You can't blame anybody but yourself because it's your money. It was your decision to put money into that project. And we scream at people, do your own research. We tell people, don't put money into a project that you can't afford to lose. And people take out loans. They refinance their homes and they dump all of that money into one crypto project because they just pray that it's going to do well because they've just they watched a really bullish video or sat in a really bullish Twitter space or, what other influential space that made them feel a certain way about a project and they had FOMO of not wanting to miss out. So it's important that people do their own research, and not everyone's going to agree on which is the best projects. And that's why it's important that we preach unity and we don't just dish out on projects that we don't understand, right? I mean, there's so many projects out there, it's impossible to know every single one. I get people all the time that come to me, what do you think about this project? And I just tell them I don't know enough information to give you an educated opinion on that because I haven't done enough research. I may have looked at a white paper briefly, but I haven't gone through the intricate details to give them an educated opinion on whether I like something or not. So if you don't know, don't say, right? Like that's what it amounts to at the end of the day. And the projects that you do know, then yeah, maybe you can talk a little bit more about why you're in that project or what you like about it. But I think a lot of people want to seem like they know everything. And so they'll be like, oh yeah, that project, it's a bad project. You should invest in the projects I'm into, and that's a bad mindset to hold because you may not know everything about it and it's only going to make you look bad and it's going to bring negativity into the space.
FOMO is real though. So don't let your emotions make you purchase something before you do some research on it. I've learned from that myself. People were talking about something, I got super excited by it. I was like, oh man, I'm going to miss out on this. It's one of those instances where you can see that candle going up and then you buy into it. And then the second you buy into it, it just goes red. So just always make sure you do your research before you dive into something, because your emotions will take over when you start to see that green candle. You look at it, you're just like, oh man, I should have bought in. I should have bought in. All right, I'm going to do it. And you do it, and then it just turns out it's just a rug pull, or it's something that you should have waited. There is like a good theory. I think I heard it from RJ that there's always like an initial spike on certain projects, and then after that spike, there's always like a downfall. And if you don't catch it, the rocket going up, and when the rocket comes down a little bit, then you can jump back onto that particular project, because you'll see that in a lot of different DeFi projects. Is you'll see them spike initially, but then you'll see them come down after that spike, and then they'll level out for a little bit, and then they'll take off a bit. So, but always don't use your emotions. Look into the project before you do anything, because that FOMO is a real thing, and it's gotten me into trouble a couple of times myself. And I'm like, oh damn it, why didn't I just listen to my own head and just do more research on the project? I saw that chart, and that's what those charts do, right? They get you super excited. And one of the cool things that I like about charts is you can actually invert the colors now, so that you could see the colors differently. So when it's going up, it's red, and when it's going down, it's green. And that'll actually help you do better decisions when you're purchasing crypto, because when you see green, for some reason, it makes you want to go and buy. So if you have that on the way down rather than on the way up, and you have red on the way up, then it's going to tell your mind saying, "Hey, don't buy this right now. This is the bad time to buy it." But when it's going down and it's green, that'll subconsciously tell you that it's a better time to purchase your crypto when you're trying to get into it. Because everyone always say buy those dips, right? They're not saying buy the tips. Buy the dips, not the tips, because the tips always turn into the dips. So that's some of my advice. But now we have a full panel up here. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, pretty good over here in Los Angeles. The weather is pretty chill. Not too much wind. I went out for a walk earlier, and it was crisp enough that it actually made it a nice, enjoyable walk with a sweater. It's sweater weather, When got a little bit of groceries, got home. I guess it's gonna rain tonight. Potential thunderstorms here. Overall, I'm doing good. I didn't get in on the space here in the beginning with you guys. I'm just kind of catching in a little bit more what you guys are talking about right now. And I have a feeling you guys kind of started off by talking about how the markets are just pretty rough right now.
We started talking about the latest in SafeMoon, about their video and like what they could possibly do with their app update and stuff like that. But we didn't talk about the markets in general. But if you'd like to, this is an open space for anyone to come up. So if you want to request to come up and speak about anything, just come on up, and you could talk about whatever you want. This is like a friendly, let's have a beer and just chat space. So, but yeah, if you want to talk about the recent market conditions, go right ahead.
I got to ask you this, Atlas. You being in Southern California, the weather is super nice, like year round. What temperature for you guys is sweater weather? You there, buddy?
Yeah, I don't hear him. I don't know if
I'm not hearing him either.
I'm not hearing you right now, Alice.
That happened to me too, where I thought I was talking and nobody heard me.
Well, welcome, Adam. Maybe Atlas, if you can hear us, try maybe dropping out and then just coming back in.
Yeah, drop out and come back in. That'll work. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I lived in LA for a while. Sweater weather for me was about 55 degrees. Oh, but I actually was from the East Coast originally. So when I moved to LA, anything over 60 degrees was perfect weather to me.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, got my headset in on top of everything else. So yeah, I would say LA, Tim was already kind of touching on it, but like 64 degrees or something, you might put it on.
Oh, wow, that's hot. I'd be sweating. But 55 for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, here in Utah, especially northern Utah, it gets really cold up here. So I was just curious.
I wanted to also touch on the market. Yeah, I don't know what happened with the audio. Like I didn't mute my mic and then got stuck or something. I just all of a sudden decided it didn't want to work. But I did a video earlier today where I was covering my different project plays and just showing the evidence of the revenue generated from this, right? And it's a lot of different crypto plays. And it's substantially better than where I was pre 3 months ago. If we go back to the end of 2021, I wasn't involved in any of these passive plays. So even with the market being down tremendously right now, overall, I am making significantly more per month if I decided to opt into redeeming those consistent rewards. But just from the time frame of this morning till today, the market's taken a huge hit. And personally, I get the feeling a lot of people are kind of on edge because of what was happening with that nuclear plant over in Russia. I found out some more information that's reassured me a lot more. But when the news first came out, I was seeing all kinds of stuff taking a hit. Generation, I'm sure you were keeping an eye on all that too. You there, Generation?
Yeah, sorry, I just stepped away to go close my door, so there wasn't any background noise. Fixing my mic right now. What was your question? Sorry.
You're up to date with what was going on with the nuclear plant in Russia, right?
Yeah, so there was some bombing in the area. There were some fires and things. There was a lot of concerns, but it sounds like it's under what they deemed a usual amount, so it's under control. Last I heard. But did you have any more information on the situation there? I know Adam's been following that pretty closely as well.
Do they know that it's not cool to bomb a nuclear plant?
Well, the latest news that we have is that it's not as bad as what people were first making it out to be, because when this first news came out, they're like, hey, the nuclear plant's on fire. Ukraine is trying to tell Russia to stop. And when all that was going on, I was looking across the board at my different investments and things were taking massive hits. So it was having an impact on the crypto market for sure, at least my portfolio. I would have a feeling that a lot of you guys that own a variety of different cryptos, you're probably seeing the same thing. One of the reasons why it was causing a lot of fear was because people were saying, hey, this plant, if it goes down, it's 10 times worse than Chernobyl. Think about that, like how bad Chernobyl was. Historical records, everything. People are like, wow, that was an absolute travesty. Can you imagine if this was 10 times worse? Since then, I went out on a walk, yada, yada. I told you guys all about that. Came back. Now I'm finding out that the design structure of this nuclear reactor plant is not designed in the same way as what Chernobyl was. There's a variety of different precautionary measures that they have, the way that it's structured, the fires themselves and where they're located right now, all that kind of stuff. And it also sounds like, I believe the firing in that area, they kind of calmed things down a bit because they realized that, oh, that's not necessarily a great idea. So there's more reassurances coming out on social media right now, and that will hopefully get reshared and people kind of calm down and they'll start looking back at the market again. But it's just so frustrating how you got people with massive amounts of money that can just dramatically change the market on a dime. And it's from rumors, it's from a certain news event, it's people just panicking. And it's like this sway of emotions, like, oh, now they're cool with it, now they freak out. Pull everything out, right? The whole market tanks. Okay, now we're gonna invest back into it again. Oh, we're gonna freak out again. Like, okay, we've had enough freaking out for the last 6 months. Can we just finally get into a bull market? It's my birthday month. It's Safe Moon's birthday month. Like, can we make this a good month? Not a day, not a week or two. Can we just have a legitimate recovery and just be able to move on?
Yeah, I think we'd all like to see that the phrase "scared money don't make money," right? Like people have heard variations of that phrase. It's true, right? Because you have these people that they hear about world events, they get scared, they pull out their investments, the prices drop, then they eventually come back and buy in when the prices are up again. So they sell for a loss and then they buy in when it's high again because the market's recovering, and they do that over and over and they lose all their money. So Historically speaking, I did want to touch on this before we switch topics, and I know, Tim, you had something to say on this. If you look at the history, now obviously cryptocurrency hasn't been around for a massive conflict in Europe because it's so new. We're talking, within 2 decades of cryptocurrency existing. So we weren't around for World War II and, the Cold War and everything else that was going on as far as conflict goes in Europe. Now, I think it's safe to say that the psychology to some degree and the way the market trends run are going to be somewhat similar to the stock market, albeit much more volatile. And there is differences for sure, but there's a lot of similarities that you can draw from both of those markets because it's still people trading. There's still human psychology involved. Now, during any major conflict that's happened since the inception of the stock market, there has always been hard dips immediately following really bad news. So Pearl Harbor got bombed. There was massive dips in the market because people were very fearful. But there was I think 3 or 4 battles throughout the World War II where we had some major losses on the United States side, and that caused major dips in the market. However, if you scan out or you scroll out and see the larger picture of the stock market over time, those dips were not consequential over the long term of the stock market. So there was a massive dip, but the dip was eventually recovered, and it kind of brought the market back on track to where it was prior to the bad news. So I feel like it's going to be the same. Again, this is totally my opinion. It's not financial advice, but I feel like we're going to see similar trends with cryptocurrency. Immediately following the news that Russia invaded Ukraine, Bitcoin took a massive dump. It was like a quick ride down, but immediately kind of the next day or so, there was a quick recovery back up to the exact price it was held at before the news came out. So there's always going to be, bad news, a dip, but usually it's going to be followed by, a relatively quick recovery, although it's obviously not guaranteed. So even if this did lead to further conflict, I definitely foresee many more dips along the way. But I think that in the long term, if you're an investor looking to invest for 2, 3, 5 years, it's not going to affect your investment unless you were planning to sell, in the short term.
Okay. I got a question. I want to go ahead and pitch over to Tim. And Generation, I'm sure you would have your own opinion on this, but Tim, you ready?
Ooh, go ahead.
Okay, what are your thoughts about with everything that's going on with this war? Tax season has not actually approached its due date yet, but remember last year with the United States, they kind of made some last minute changes on things. With the pandemic that we still had to deal with last year, plus rising gas prices because of what's going on with this and uncertainties and everything, do you think that we'll see any kind of last minute changes on our taxes this year?
No, I don't. I would hope so, but I don't think they're going to do anything with the taxes this year. I don't think they're going to be very lenient with anything. I think they're just going to be right back to where the old system was, and I don't think that the war is going to change anything for us or the gas prices or anything. I think it's going to stay the same. So, but I would like it to be delayed. Oh.
What do you think, Generation?
I don't see any major changes to the tax system during this tax season unless there's something major that happens. I could see maybe some delays, such as, and I mean absolutely crazy. And I'm not saying that this is even a high risk issue. I would say this is extremely low risk issue, but let's just say Russia goes total crazy and starts nuking all these other countries or something crazy. I could definitely see some, obvious delays because there's other things going on in the world right now that's a little bit more important than taxes. But ultimately, do I think that there's a high chance of any changes to the tax system right now with everything going on? I don't. During the State of the Union, well, rather the day before, they pretty much lifted all mask mandates for the congressional houses, and no one was wearing masks. They kind of talked about how the era of like COVID and COVID restrictions is kind of now ending. So I don't see them kind of doing anything as far as taxes go that way. To kind of, because we're kind of coming out of COVID. This is going to be a election year, so there's going to be a little bit of a shift in politics and the way that people are treated because of the fact that it is an election year. So we'll have to see where things go that way in the United States. As far as oil goes, though, I do see an increase in price depending on how long these sanctions go on for and things. We're already seeing prices go up. And I think the last I saw, I think a barrel of oil was $110. So it's already going up quite a bit. Will that impact us in the States? I think it depends greatly on how long these sanctions last and how much this conflict escalates, because Russia is a large exporter of oil to Europe. And if Europe is levying sanctions against them and they decide to do sanctions with oil and these other sources, they're going to have to get it elsewhere, which means the supply that we're pulling from or other countries are pulling from is going to have a larger demand, and that's therefore going to increase prices. So I think it completely depends on the conflict and how much we escalate sanctions and how long the conflict lasts for.
Just lately, I don't know if you heard or not, I was watching the European Union. They're talking about this, and they were saying that this is the time where they need to become more independent. And they said that we need to be pushing for renewable energy. We need to be pushing for other forms so that we're not reliant upon petroleum, oil, fossil fuels, that kind of a thing. So there was multiple people I saw during that speech that were pushing that. But again, that was over on the Europe side. Over here in the United States, I heard reportedly that there's considerations of trying to make a deal with Iran. I think it was to try and get oil from them. And some people are kind of upset. It's like, well, we have a variety of states in the United States that we could be trying to get our oil from there. But you got the infrastructure bill. If you guys recall, I mean, I'm not calling you guys, but just some of the people that are listening. I made a video in the past on my channel that talked about when John was talking from SafeMoon about the wind turbines and the growing industry sector space, and he mentioned a specific number for specifically with wind turbines. Well, that number is directly correlated with what was included in the infrastructure bill. So this money that's been presented is supposed to be pushing towards a greener sector. And I'm hoping that they continue to drive that narrative with everything that's going on and side with what Europe is doing. And then projects like SafeMoon that are trying to do things with crossing real world and virtual world and incentivizing people to essentially fund these things, which almost comes across like a bond when you think about it. It's interesting perspective with that. But having that sort of mechanic so that we can start getting in the right direction, I just find it very silly. We're using dead animals still in this day and age to power our vehicles.
People that own Teslas.
Yeah.
I want a Tesla so bad. I can't wait until the day I can get one. So
Ford and
then that'll
GM are
limit it.
getting more into it.
Yeah, they were saying by the end of 2025, all their vehicles are going to be electric. In fact, if anyone's ever interested in electric vehicles, there was a documentary done, I believe it was in the end of 2000. It was called Who Killed the Electric Car? It was about, I think GM developed the very first electric car, and it was actually really good. It got a lot of miles and everything. But the oil companies did not like that, how successful it was, and how adopting it became. Like a lot of people started adopting it. And they only allowed people to lease these cars. So when the oil companies came in, they started buying up all the patents, and they took all the cars out to the Sierra Desert or the Mojave Desert, and they crushed them and left them in the desert. So there's actually this huge desert of crushed electric vehicles from the early 2000s. Because if you actually go down in Santa Monica, I don't know if they still have the plug stations for them, but when I lived in LA, they had the plug stations for those electric cars installed in the parking lots, in the parking garages in Santa Monica down by the 3rd Street, I believe.
They're everywhere, man.
Yeah, but for those old cars, not for like the Teslas or any of the newer charging stations.
Oh, I
I'm
see.
talking about for the older ones. They almost, and yeah, so that's what the oil companies did. They came in and they bought all the patents and they had them destroyed. So it's a pretty interesting documentary if you're bored. But speaking of interesting things, I wanted to get on to Giddy, and they just announced that they have an app to put you in line to get their main app. I know Generation, he sent out a tweet on this today. So did I. I'm actually super excited about Giddy. I don't know if you know a lot about Giddy, Crypto Atlas, but it's a really awesome project. I think the people that are running it are super smart. I actually connected with Eric Parker on LinkedIn, and I was talking to him about the project for a while. And some of the things that they're doing in Giddy is like super awesome when it comes to security for your key phrase. And that's one of the things that a lot of people are nervous about when they have their seed phrase on their phone. They want to put it on a cold storage wallet. They're doing something different when it comes to that, and they're also doing something different when it comes to staking. I asked him what he would want to say if he was here today, because I was talking to him earlier about everything that Giddy was doing. And if you guys want, I could share it with you. But he said one of the cool things that they're doing is the private key security, fiat management, and smart contract interactions. So these are the three things that Giddy is going to be like trying to change in their space. The problems they're trying to solve. And if no one's familiar where Giddy is from Utah. That is Generation Crypto area, and also Safe Moon area, if you will. Apparently, they were at the Cryptopia, and I think, do you have a video of them speaking at Cryptopia Generation? I think you had one on your channel, on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I have the entire Cryptopia event recorded and documented on my channel. So I've got if people are curious, they don't have to dig through all of my videos. I have a playlist dedicated to it. So if you just go to my Cryptopia playlist, I have all 4 of the different workshops, as well as kind of a overview of the kind of get the social that happened afterwards. So if anyone wants to go back and watch Giddy talking about all this, you're welcome to go on my channel and listen to them talk about their project and what they're about there.
Yeah, I mean, I really like their project a lot. I think Eric is super smart. He actually was an app developer for iOS and Android for a long time. And they got a lot of developers out there. They saw a lot of the problems in DeFi that they didn't like. So they started working on those problems, and they wanted to correct it. And one of the first things that they're doing is they're doing something called decentralized private key management, or a multi-identity private key security. And what it boils down to is that they break up your private key into multiple parts and store those like in these shared places all over the place. And then they compose and print your keys when they're needed, like only when you're doing transactions. And then they immediately delete the key. And that's kind of cool. And plus, when you're doing transactions, it's only available for 60 seconds. So if someone steals your key, then immediately it's deleted, and they can't use it to steal anything in your wallet before it all goes through. So they're really changing the game when it comes to key security. And I think that is super important. And I'm hoping that they do something with SafeMoon in the near future, because I think what they're doing is going to be the new norm for the DeFi space, because that's always something that you have to worry about, is losing your seed phrase, unless you have a cold storage wallet right now where you take it off your phone. But it means that they're a non-custodial, because they can never access your key either. And it means your key is never stored on your phone when you use this particular thing, or your computer, or their servers, or their databases, or anywhere else that is hackable. So that's one of the cool things about this. And out of all that, it's done through your Google or Apple or Facebook or Twitter login. So they use all that information, and it's supposedly super secure. And yeah, that's one of the cool things that I like about Giddy. And they're also partnering with Wire to make buying and selling crypto easier within the app, right? So like sometimes when you try to buy crypto, it gets difficult, because then you have to buy what you want and you have to swap it. But they're going to try to make it super easy to buy it and then just stake it by pushing a one button. It's supposed to be super simple to stake any type of cryptocurrency. You don't have to swing it over to a different chain or whatever and try to find out where you can stake it and connect your wallet to a decentralized app, because this is a decentralized app, and it's supposed to be super easy to stake and get yield farming on your cryptocurrency. So it's a good way to gain interest on stuff. I don't know. I really like it. As you can tell, I'm really pumped about this project, and I think that in the future they might be doing something with SafeMoon, but that's just my opinion. Just because they're based there in Utah, and they're not too far from SafeMoon headquarters, and they are at one of the same events with them, I think there might be something in the near future with those two companies working together. Generation, now you could fly in there and tell me what you think of Giddy, but that was my breakdown of why I was excited about them.
I think you hit the nail right on the head. Yeah, for pretty much the same reasons. I'm very excited about what they're doing with, like you said, the non-custodial seed phrases, and kind of what they're doing to bring security to the market. I also talked to them while I was at Cryptopia. I talked to some of their members there. I really liked what they had to say and kind of the direction that they were wanting to go in DeFi. kind of helping to bridge a little bit better the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 is what they were trying to do. So I really like what they're trying to do. I really like the team that's behind them. And then, like you said, they're local to me. So that gives me kind of a personal incentive to want to support what they're doing. But like you said, they're Scott Paul, who's a big advocate for SafeMoon, who's heavily invested and very well involved in SafeMoon, is also very well invested and involved with Giddy. So I could definitely see partnerships in the future between those two brands. It's not to say that there's anything confirmed. It's just to say that they have, similar goals and they're located in a similar location. So there's a high chance that could become something that evolves in the future. But that's not to say that there's anything that's guaranteed or that there's anything that's been announced as far as that goes.
Yeah, there's no
So I'm going to
announcement.
go and touch on this.
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead.
I made a video on Giddy in the past with possible relations to SafeMoon. I can't remember when the Cryptopia thing was. When was that?
January.
Yeah, so it was back in January, and it's because Scott Paul and his ties to SafeMoon, and I'm just trying to connect dots. So I went and checked out the Giddy website, covered the basics of it. I didn't go reaching out to the team and stuff like you did, Tim, and getting more elaborate on how all their stuff works. But I was looking at how they presented themselves and if there was any leading indicators that suggested that this is in line with what SafeMoon's trying to do. And I saw a variety of things. But I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here. After I did that video, I remember, I think it was in Discord, somebody had either the next day or a couple days later, they reached out and they messaged John if they were doing anything with Giddy. And the response was that, no, they're not. But that's during that point in time. There's nothing to say that in the future they can't be working together. It was just a statement made by a core team member of the SafeMoon team that they're not proactively working with them. So Ryan and the whole staking system, Giddy having their own staking system, there's value that's there. And that was one of the leading indicators where I was like, hey, maybe this is something of a partnership. It helps expedite your time frames on what you're trying to roll out for features, right? Why would you spend all this time to build out these things when somebody else has already built it out? You can use that as leverage and work with these partnerships and be able to provide services faster to your community, right? That's kind of the perspective I went in on it. I don't know what Ryan has planned as far as for the staking mechanic goes, if it's something being built out internally or if they're going to be doing it with one of these other partners. It's like going through the SafeMoon swap and such. But as it is as it was in January, Giddy was not working with SafeMoon, but it might in the future.
Thank you for that clarification, Atlas. Darth Critter has come up onto the stage. Welcome, Darth Critter. Did you have something you wanted to bring to the table?
I just wanted to confirm what Atlas said, too. I think John had tweeted out that they weren't doing business with Giddy. They were just all kind of in that same circle. And then I don't know if you guys saw that Scott had position 1 on the list. So I'm kind of jealous about that.
I know. I got up to about 50 from a couple of invites I got out of it. But I bet you Tim's ahead of me at this point. He's probably number 2.
I'm number 3. So.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
So,
You too. Thanks for coming
Thank
up,
you.
Darth.
Yeah, there's a lot of projects that weren't in the past working with SafeMoon, right? Like Evergrow wasn't working with SafeMoon in January either, as far as I know. So they just recently partnered with them, just like other projects in the future will be working with them. So as they go through the process, hopefully in the future, I believe they're being launched on Polygon, if I'm not mistaken. And so they would have to be able to be on that network to even list the token. But you can't get Polygon on Ethereum on their swap, can you? They don't have Polygon on their
on which swap?
On SafeMoon swap.
No, there's no Polygon on SafeMoon swap. Not yet.
Yeah, so I think before, if you wanted to get Giddy on the SafeMoon wallet or through SafeMoon swap, if they were going to partner with them that way by listing their token, because they will have a token, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be on the Polygon network. And so they would have to support that network on SafeMoon. So it might be, maybe they will be getting Polygon on the Polygon network on their wallet at some point. and then that could be one of the tokens that's listed on that portion of their swap, because they are working on adding more chains. That is something they said they were doing. That would probably be a pretty cool chain to add, as well as AVAX. And I like AVAX. I wish it was on the wallet. It would be a lot nicer. So, but yeah,
Generation.
that's one of
Tim,
Yeah, what's up?
question for you.
sure.
When the gets rolled out that the SafeMoon team is teasing right now, if you had to pick one, I know that's going to be hard, but if you had to pick one thing that you think is going to be in that update for the wallet, what do you think it is?
This was something we actually answered before. I don't know if you were in the room yet, but that's a great question. I thought that they might be doing an integration in the app or in the wallet where you can connect to Naughty Knots. So you would actually be able to purchase NFTs and store them on your wallet through Naughty Knots. So that was one guess that I had. But I don't know what my second was now because I forgot. But Generation said everything that he was going to say was. Now, obviously, this is all speculative because they really didn't drop any hints of what the update included. So if you were here early on, this is pretty much the same thing that we were saying before. Is we don't really know. They're not really giving us any information besides. I think Ryan tweeted out an apple with two fingers pointing to it, right? A little red apple today or something. But that's all we got. Nothing really more. So what the update will include.
Yeah, from what I understand, the apple color thing, I guess, is red apple means that they've submitted it to Apple, and then green apple means it's been approved. That's
right.
What I've been reading. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but it makes sense to me. So I don't want to spread misinformation if that's not the case. So someone knows that that's not true. Please, someone send me a DM and I'll correct myself on that. But that's
no, I heard the same.
I'll just tell you right now, they've done it many times throughout the course of their releases. So it's a common thing of an indicator to the community. Like, hey, this has been submitted. You got something that's just waiting to be approved.
Right.
It means the Android is already approved because they approve things way faster, apparently. And they're just waiting on Apple.
As far as guessing what it would be, what I kind of the answer I gave earlier, and I still stand by, is my guess is because we haven't gotten any information for it yet, that whatever that thing is, it's going to be supporting something that they're releasing later this month. So they mentioned that there's going to be product releases later this month. They mentioned that there's going to be, partnerships and other things announced later on in this month as they celebrate this anniversary month. And my guess would be whatever that update is, it's to support whatever those new things are coming into the ecosystem are going to be. And that's probably why they haven't said what it is. Because usually when they have an update, they say, hey, we're adding this, and this. Check it out on the next update. And this time they're being a little bit more, not secretive, but just not saying what it is. And so my assumption would be they're kind of waiting for an announcement later on that's going to reveal what's involved with that update, if that makes sense.
You know what I would really
share
like?
with you guys what
I would like it if it was staking, if they allowed you to stake your SafeMoon.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love that because I would stake all mine. What were we going to say, Alice?
I think everyone would love that. Can I share with you, if I had to pick just one, what makes this most sense to me, that is the most likely?
Sure.
The UI overhaul.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong on that.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan said like 5 months ago, he was like, oh, yeah, in the next update. And like, it didn't happen. And he's had a lot of other things setting as priority, but all the work that he would have done in the leading up months, I'm sure that like it's either been partially worked on, mostly worked on, or something. But when we're doing like a rebrand and everything else that's going on with that video, when it makes sense that they kind of carry the same sort of sentiment over with the wallet.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping they would do the same thing for the website. They would rebrand the website and give you that new UI with the rebranding that they did. But it would also make sense if they did that and they redid that to the wallet and they did it to the website this month as well. So they give you the new rebranding where you could use it for your wallpaper on your phone and you could do your header or whatever. But it would be cool if they added that to the wallet. Yeah, that would be really neat. And I'm still hoping that they give us a more slick new website for their new URL. That's really what I'm hoping for.
But before you answer, Alice, if that's okay, we're going to be going for the space for about another 8 minutes. We want to keep this to like an hour and a half-ish. because I know it gets pretty late for some people. We want to make sure that everyone has a chance to go to bed. Again, there will be a recording on YouTube for those who want to check it there. So if you're in the audience and you have a burning question you want to get answered or anything like that, feel free to send in a request. We are only going to be open for about 7 more minutes. And if it's okay with Tim and Atlas, I've got a couple of questions on YouTube I'd like to throw up here before we end, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got Marcus who's asking me here on YouTube. He said, I heard Apple and Google shut off maps services in Russia, and a bunch of kids driving do not know how to read road signs. Thoughts? Is this a generational thing?
They can't read road signs.
I guess that's what he's saying. Yeah.
I know. Look,
Well-
maybe he means maps. They can't read like actual physical maps, like paper maps.
That's what I
I mean,
would
I'm
think,
old.
but he said road signs. Let me reread.
Yeah.
this.
I'd like to touch on this.
Yeah.
So there's actual. I was watching the news, and so people in Ukraine have been intentionally changing their road signs because of the invasion, and they've been saying things like "F Russia," "Go F yourself," "Go back to Russia and F yourself." But it shows the different directions of where you're supposed to be going, thinking that this city is that way, that street is that way. They completely removed that, and they replaced it with these things just so that Russians, as they come in, they have no idea where to go. In fact, there's also video footage of them stopping and asking for directions. So having no, can you imagine just for a second, like Generation Tim, have you guys ever been to Italy?
I've never been to Italy.
Yep. No, I'm kidding. I've never been there. Just,
Okay, so if you just got plopped in Italy right now and you didn't have your phone, do you think you would have some trouble trying to figure out where to go to?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so they're
Oh.
unfamiliar with this area. Russia going into Ukraine, unless they're there all the time, you don't know the area. So in addition to the rebels essentially manipulating these signs, it doesn't make it any easier. As far as for maps, that wasn't mentioned in his question, so I just wanted to address the sign thing.
That might have been what he had heard or alluding to, because that makes more sense to me. Because I've heard the same thing on the news as well. And then just really quick, he had one other question. He said, so speaking of private keys, I'm not knowledgeable on what goes on in the hacking world, but the brute force entry I've heard happens in theory in the 24-word C phrase is much more secure. Or no, the 12 is the same.
oh, I only use 12. See, brute force. They said this is a tough one. Atlas, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's kind of an easy response from as far as my understanding goes. The more words that you have, the more possible combinations. It's like trying to open up a lock that only has 12 different number combinations or one that has 24. The magnitude of how many you would have to put in to actually be able to crack it significantly goes up with every addition that's there. So a 24 seed phrase, from my understanding, would be significantly harder to try and break into than a 12-word one.
But I heard that the 12, like brute forcing a 12 word seed phrase is so difficult that it's almost nearly impossible to brute force it from just start without having any words.
Yeah,
so
brute forcing, you're correct on that, Tim. It is extremely hard, and Atlas is also right that it's exponential. So some people just assume, 24 means double, but it actually means way more than that, because there's an exponential factor there for every variable that you add on that you'd have to factor in. And then you are correct, though, Tim. Getting a 12-word seed phrase brute forced, it takes just a stupid amount of force to get there in a long period of time. Unless you already had 10 of the seed words, then at that point, yeah, it is still not easy, but relatively easier the more words you have. So if you're starting from nothing, it's extremely difficult. I wouldn't say impossible, but extremely difficult.
But if you had 10 of those words, but you didn't know where they went, it would also make it very difficult too. So like you would have to know at least the positioning of those 10 words and where they went. So the whole issue is don't take any airdrops that you don't know, and watch out for projects that haven't been verified, because that is where a lot of people get their wallet stuff stolen right now, because they think if they don't give out their seed phrase that people still can't get their crypto. But there's some backdoors that are given through some of these janky projects, I like to say, that when they start airdropping stuff, they have smart contracts that allow approvals to your wallet, and it allows specific token approvals that they can just go in and start taking your stuff without needing your seed phrase. So just be very careful when you come into new projects. And if someone airdrops you something and you don't know where it came from, just don't friggin' touch it. Because it has been happening more often, and people have been asking me. I always tell people, don't touch it. Just don't. If you don't know where it came from, you didn't buy it, even if it's showing any bit of money, like if it's showing $5, don't try to sell it. There is something called dusting as well, where people will just dust your wallet with the cryptocurrency. That only gets that's only someone trying to find out your identity, not necessarily try to get your crypto out of it. But airdropping is a different level of taking your stuff. So just try to stay away from the airdrop stuff.
It's best practice that if you only interact with the tokens that you have personally purchased. And if you don't remember purchasing something, don't touch it. So just if you've bought it, you obviously know what that project was and you interact with it, so it makes sense that it's there. But if you see some token popping up in your wallet you've never heard before, regardless if it's worth $30,000, like Tim said, that could be a dust attack. So just be wary of that. Just don't interact with it. Just because you received it doesn't mean that you're hacked. Because anyone can send anything to any wallet. That doesn't mean anything inherently. So you're still secure. It's only if you decide to interact with that token, that's where the security issues become apparent. So don't get worried that there's tokens appearing that you have never seen before on like Puka when you connect your wallet. But just know that it only becomes an issue if you're interacting with those tokens. So it's always good to keep security practices when you're dealing with your wallet. And I just want to say thank you guys all for showing up to the space tonight. I'll give both these gentlemen a chance to close out for the evening. I know that this is kind of a no topic space. It's kind of the design. We wanted it to be a little bit more laid back. Obviously kind of having a loose focus on crypto and DeFi, but other topics. I mean, if someone wants to come up and talk about a football team or something, you're welcome to, as long as, we eventually kind of get back on track and talking relatively on topic about DeFi, SafeMoon, cryptocurrency, that kind of a thing. So we appreciate every single one of you guys. We have not come up with a name yet for the space. If any of you guys have suggestions, let us know in the YouTube comment section. Let us know on Twitter. Let us know here in the Discord if you have any suggestions, and we can come up with kind of a brand and a name. And we would love to have more participation in the future. So this will be held once a week for about an hour and a half or so every week. And you guys are all welcome to come up and participate, ask your questions. This is an opportunity for you guys to interact with, myself, Atlas, Tim, other content creators here in the server. And who knows, maybe we'll even get some developers to pop up here, and every now and then you can interact directly with devs as well. So we appreciate every single one of you guys and for tuning in. And I'll start off with Atlas if you have some closing words for us, and then I'll go over to Tim.
Yes, guys, if you're listening, please don't leave yet, because I did want to add one very important note. I saw some people trying to bounce out just slightly early. This has to do with the security. If you go and you look through your crypto, especially as you're filing your taxes, and you see some crypto in there that you don't remember ever buying, but you happen to look it up because you're curious, and you see that this thing is worth a ton of money, that is another scam that they try to do. There's issues with their liquidity on the back end, because I had it with me and my friend Brian. We're both looking at our stuff. We're like, we both had the same token, and when he looked up, he's like, oh my God, this thing is worth like $25,000 now. But then you find out as you look more into it, it's like, oh, they have manipulated the price on the charts, but because their liquidity of things, as soon as you try to do something with it, boom, there you go, you got dusted. So I just wanted to point that out, to be cautious. Just because it looks like it's worth a lot doesn't mean that it's legit. And thank you guys for having me come up. God bless all you guys. Praying for Ukraine. And it's cool to see this over in the Discord space, and I hope this does well in the future as well.
Thank you for coming up and participating, Alice. And Tim, do you want to close out the space?
Yeah, guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. I love this space because we could talk about whatever we want. We could talk about whatever projects we want. We could talk about whatever topics we want. I want to thanks for joining us here, though, and just being a part of this. And like I said before, if you guys ever just want to come up and talk to us, just to say hi, because I know I've messaged a bunch of you guys down there. We've been messaging for a while. Feel free on the next time when we're here just to pop up and just let's do a voice chat. Because I know I've talked to you a lot in my messages, and it would be cool to talk voice to voice, and then maybe someday face to face when we're drinking a beer after we celebrate from our great crypto experiences. But yeah, that's all I got. Thank you guys, and I hope everyone has a great night.
Thank you guys.